Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2021 Pebble Beach Pro-Am. Live chat, final bets, the wind, ownership projections. We got it all here for you. If you're watching this after the fact or listening to the audio podcast, hit the time description so you can jump to the points that you want. Same order every single week. It's like the first 10 minutes are the info, and then it's the live chat with the viewers. 12 p.m. Eastern Time every single Wednesday on Mayo Media Network's YouTube channel. Please subscribe to the Mayo Media Network YouTube channel. And if you're still out there and wanting to get in one of those draws for $100 American dollars, we're not going cheap here and giving you Canadian pennies. Pennies on the dollar, at least, with all of this. If you go to Daily Fantasy Sports Picks and Bets, The Mix, and you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts along with your Twitter handle or email, say something nice about the show, you are in the draw for 100 US bucks. Jeff and I will be giving those away on Monday's Pat Mayo Experience. I just released a show up there for the one and done segment. Again, it's all just short stuff for the niche sports, the niche topics, but if you're looking to get in on some action, please go download that show. The UFC show will be up on Mayo Media Network, Dogger Pass Podcast later on Wednesday, and of course, the hockey bets and picks, DraftKings pick show every single day, except for Sundays, on Mayo Media Network as well. So subscribe to all of that. Please help us all out. Everything that I will be using today is from fantasynational.com. Fantasynational.com/Mayo gets you that 20% discount, which if you get the weekly, makes it $8 a week, or if you get the annual, I think it makes it like $5 a week or something crazy like that. Highly suggest if you're playing DraftKings or betting on golf, get fantasynational.com, use /Mayo, get yourself a discount. Everyone's a winner. It's fun to use anyway. Even if you don't bet, you just click around on stuff and you can learn more about golf. Who doesn't like that? What else do I got? My pivots column for DraftKings is up on ftndaily.com right now. My full preview for the tournament and the stats in the course, and my cheat sheet for DraftKings is up on dknation.com right now. If you just want to not listen to me and just go get the picks, that's where they are, all right? I'm also in Golf Digest this week as well, coming off, I'm riding a heater, 1 in a row, Brooks Koepka. Let's see if we can make it 2 in a row with the picks right now. So the betting card for the week, obviously, it's funny how the betting card shaped up for a lot of people because I was in early before the Dustin withdrawal on some people, and now those guys are not necessarily at numbers that I would bet because everyone from the very top of the board has crashed, but other people didn't place a wager until DJ withdrew, and then they just hopped on Cantlay and Berger before the numbers actually shifted, and I can't begrudge that whatsoever. I think it's a pretty smart move. I just didn't have that I had that opportunity, but I was already in the market, and I didn't want to overexpose myself here. Once we get to the weather report, I think saving a few bullets for Sunday or even Saturday might be the prudent move in this regard, because all these guys could end up missing the cut based on the weather forecast and how cold it's going to be on the Monterey Peninsula this week. So with over 20-mile-per-hour winds projected on Sunday, you could see someone charge up from the back of the pack at huge odds going out early. So I would keep a bet or two around for that. They're going to be deep odds, mind you, the guys that you'll probably be betting on Sunday, unless someone just gets way out ahead. Obviously, I don't know what's going to happen. But if the weather does stay like this, and I'll do the full weather report in a minute, that chasers could have a viable chance this week. Although this has been a tournament where the 54-hole leader has gone on to win a large percentage of the time versus something like last week in Phoenix where almost everyone who leads after round 3 never ends up winning in Phoenix. So the card for me this week, Francesco Molinari, Jason Day 35-1, Ricky Fowler 50-1. Into the bomb section, I got the Gim Reaper, Doug Gim, 100-1 with a top 8 each way. Yeah, that's new for us here in Canada. It's funny because it's switched. I made 2 bets with the top 5 each way, and then I checked back later in the day. All of a sudden, it was a top 8 each way. I was like, well, damn, that kind of sucks for me. But Doug Gim, Gim Reaper, 100-1, top 8 each way. Harold Varner III, 110-1 with the top 5 each way. Nasty Nate Lashley, 200-1 with the top 5 each way. And Chris Baker, the birdie maker, 600-1 with a top 8 each way. Top 20s I'm playing this week. Lashley, 5.5-1. Rob Oppenheim, the bringer of birdies, 10-1, and Chris Baker 14-1. First round leader, I did find the split market, so I only have one, and it's without an each way. It's just to be first round leader. Nate Lashley 66-1 to be the first round leader on Pebble Beach. For the one and done, I took Jason Day, Jeff took Harold Varner III, and Cuss took Paul Casey in our 3-man competition. Obviously, I'm not giving away my picks for the Fantasy Golf Championship and the race for the Mayo Cup because I'm competing against all of you out there when it comes down to it. Weather report for the week. I dumped the weather link on Windfinder into the live chat if you're looking for it. If you go to windfinder.com, just type in Pebble Beach. It's Pebble Beach/Lone Cypress, the same one that I used for the U.S. Open in 2019 as my bookmarks actually ended up telling me. So Thursday looks great. So this is a really interesting point here. So Thursday, don't worry about the weather. It's going to be cold, but that's fine. It's going to rain overnight, and it's going to be cold, and it's going to be windy on Friday. So it's going to be basically a sustained wind of 15 miles per hour throughout the day with gusts up to like 26 at certain points. That's not great. On Saturday, basically no wind in the morning, and then in the afternoon, it just starts ramping up big time. 13 mile per hour winds, 25 mile per hour winds. It's going to be cold. It's going to be rainy. And then on Sunday, at least right now, we're looking at basically a sustained wind of like 10 to 15 miles per hour early. Later in the day, it's going to get up to 18 or 20, but the gusts are like 25 to 30. So my thinking on the matter, and we're never going to know this or whether it works out or not, that since the players are playing split tees, split courses the first 2 days, that I think you would want the players starting at Pebble Beach, only because Spyglass Hill is enclosed with trees, although a lot of those trees have fallen down, so it's a bit more open than it has been in the past, but it's not directly on the coast, where Pebble Beach is directly on the coast. I think you're familiar with Pebble Beach at this point. You know that, if you hit it too far right, you're in the Pacific Ocean. So I would anticipate the winds affecting that course more than Spyglass. And it's not like I'm going to construct all my lineups with just guys playing Pebble day one, but out of my 20 lineups, I'm going to allocate probably 4 of them to Pebble Stack day 1 to get them hopefully away from the wind on day 2 to see if I can squeeze those 6 guys through the cut. Then I'll probably play 2 the opposite way just in case I'm wrong, because I always enjoy to do that. And I'm thinking that most people will try to do the Pebble. I mean, not most people who are in the know and actually do things like tee time stack and course stack will end up doing it Pebble day 1 to get your guys on Spyglass on day 2. So notable names starting on Pebble Beach on Thursday that I'm using in my lineups. Let's see. All of my duds from the bottom, whether it be Baker or Oppenheim. It's funny, all those 6K guys, for me, they're all starting on the other side. So I have to kind of broaden my pool for those specific lineups. I don't mind Cam Percy. He's down there. Russell Knox is down there. Austin Cook, Nate Lashley, I'm definitely using because I'm big on Nate Lashley this week. Norlander's playing the course. Spieth, Ricky, and Nick Taylor and Brian Stewart are all out there. Day, Cantley, and Kim are all playing there as well, as is Will Zalatoris. From the other side, starting on tee number 10, Matt Jones, Doug Gim, Mark Hubbard. Who else do we got here? Just scanning through. Harold Varner is on that side as well. So the guys who have potentially the worst draw, the Paul Caseys, the Molinaris, Snedeker, Phil, Max Homa, all guys that I like this week that I'm still going to be using. But I'm probably not going to, I haven't decided whether or not I'm not using Casey, and I'm probably not going to end up using Phil. We'll end up seeing either like Scott Stallings, Kevin Streelman, Sam Burns, like sort of chalkier-ish players. I would just say be a little bit careful. It's not to say that don't use them, because I'm using a lot of these guys when it comes down to it. But if you just want to build course-specific lineups, that is a way that you can go through that. So just go search the tee times and maybe try to split up your roster. And listen, best case scenario, you get lucky and you get it right. Worst case scenario, there is no impact and it's all things being equal anyway. So I don't see a ton of downside to doing it unless for whatever reason Spyglass plays way harder in the wind than Pebble, which I just don't foresee happening. So that's my quick take on the weather and the tee splits when it comes down to it. The other thing to watch out for is the weather. So it looks like it's going to be in the 50s all week, which apparently is very cold, where I am very warm at this time of year. In California playing golf, not so warm, especially for these guys. The 2 players that it does concern me about the most, strangely enough, Cantlay and Jason Day, two guys who have had back problems in the past that, we've seen it with Tiger before at some of these U.S. Opens where he'll play really well at the Masters. It's in, nice conditions. Like the hotter it is, the better it is for Tiger. You get him in upstate New York or just outside of New York City and, in May, and it's not the warmest, or even last year in September wasn't the warmest, and all of a sudden he can't get loose, the back starts flaring up, and just he's not hitting the ball as well. That would be my only potential concern. I'm not using Cantlay this week. It's a decision I made in my DraftKings lineups that I'm going to play it a bit more balanced in that low 9K, upper 8K level and try to jam in 4 of those guys along with Lashley and Hubbard and some of the scrubs from the upper 6s and the lower 7s. However, I am using Jason Day, but it does worry me a lot that maybe I probably won't have Jason Day in my main lineup. Although I said that about Brooks last week, and then Brooks ended up winning. So stupid on my part, but those are some of the concerns that I have when it comes down to it. Ownership on DraftKings this week, Cantlay is looking like the highest owned guy, followed by Daniel Berger, 1 and 2. Molinari is going to be up there. Jason Day, Kevin Streelman, and Cam Davis and Harold Varner are likely going to be your highest owned players of the week. Cantlay could push 30% in this field. Berger could be like 25%. Then you'll have Davis, Molinari, Day, Zalatoris, Streelman, Norlander. They're all going to be floating in that like 15 to 20 range. It's going to depend on the contest that you end up playing in. I wrote up my pivots column up on ftndaily.com right now, and spoiler alert, the only player that I have projected for less than 10% that is above Phil Mickelson in the pricing is Ricky Fowler. And it's been the putter that has been holding him back. I don't have a whole lot of faith in Ricky whatsoever, but the irons have looked really good. If he can just figure out the putter whatsoever, I think he's going to be fine here. He's someone that I'm actually going to, I bet him to win because he was 50 to 1. But in terms of DraftKings, you don't need a ton of him to get overweight to the field. And he is someone who can, this is such a weak field. Why couldn't Ricky Fowler end up with a very high finisher? Not to say he's going to win or even make the cut for that matter. But I think if you're looking at him versus all of the other options around him, you're getting him at half the ownership to 1/4 the ownership of everyone else. So it's not necessarily like, oh, Ricky needs to beat Patrick Cantlay in order to win. But as a second or third man in your lineup, he needs to beat Molinari, Siwoo, Sam Burns, Cam Davis, Homa, and Kevin Streelman. Like, Ricky can do that. And you're getting him probably around like 6 to 7% versus the 18%, 20% of the guys around him. So you have to weigh those opportunities and have to risk it just a little bit. This seems like a really good week to kind of go full throttle on pure risk because it's a very weak field, like we've mentioned a whole bunch of times. It's a large field. It's 156 players, so a fewer amount of players actually end up making the cut versus a regular week or something like we saw in Phoenix. And then you have this weather element to everything, this short course element that just adds to the variance of what's going on. So if you take the pedigree of someone like Ricky Fowler and he hits, you're going to be way ahead of the field in some of these larger GPPs because you have him and no one else does. Whereas everyone else, kind of flat across the board. Everyone else is going to be in the double digits. And like I said, Cantlay is going to push like 30%. So everyone else is going to be in that range as highly owned players because you can afford them this week. It's not that big of a deal. So let's jump into the live chat and see what is happening over there. Pat, love the show. Love the nicknames. You're the Chris Berman for the online generation. All right, here we go. What do you think of the Eunuch as a nickname for Patrick Cantlay? I think we can do better. I'm not going to lie to you. We can do better than that. That's something that we can do. We can work together and come up with a better nickname for Patrick Cantlay. Pat, would you tell us the projected ownership on Siwoo and Akshay Bhatia? Cussboy, Bhatia. Let's see here. What do we got for who's the first guy? Siwoo. Siwoo coming in lower of the 9K guys. He's around like 12 to 14%. And I assume Ashk is like literally unowned. He is like 4% owned. So one of the higher ones of the 6Ks, but not anything that would really make you sneeze at it. If you go into the 6K range, isn't Oppenheim the one with the most upside considering his history at Pebble? Well, every time that he's hit his upside, it's come at Pebble, but again, that upside isn't great. I'm using Oppenheim, don't get me wrong. He's $6,500. I think he's a nice back-end filler. I wouldn't like go lock button on Rob Oppenheim. Skill-wise, he's nowhere near the best player in the $6,000 range. So I think his skill set fits with this course really well, but he has no short game, and the guy cannot make putts. Every time that we've seen him like pop up on a Saturday leaderboard, he's like 78, and then he's gone on Sunday. So you have to take the good with the bad on Oppenheim. I like him as a play. I don't think that when you say he has the most upside, like there's guys in the 6Ks that can go win, like especially some of these young guys with like real legit skill. Oppenheim's just not one of those guys. He's more of like a high. He's you know what? He's kind of like TPJ in a way. He doesn't have the credentials of TPJ, so he's like the homeless man's TPJ. But putting. Can you get it going that week? Because the wedges are going to be dialed in, and he's going to hit a bunch of fairways. So that's what you can expect from Oppenheim. Hey, Pat, would you play Max Homa this week as an outright pick? I mean, you can if you want. I'm not. So I guess the answer to that would be no. I am using him on DraftKings, so I do like him. Projected ownership on Ogletree, sub 3%. Favorite play, 7.4K and under. I like Lashley. Lashley at 7.1 is my guy. Will Gordon, too low? Same as most guys in the $7,500 range, if you ask me. I would prefer Gordon more on a track where he can really utilize his driving distance. We've seen him pop up at different places over time, like when he played really well at Travelers. That was also why he was a different type of POA, but the faster POA greens that maybe he could spike. But I don't see a whole lot of differentiation between him and some of the other guys around him in the same range. Hello, sir. What's in your golf bag? I wonder what Pat's handicap is. Considering I haven't played golf since the DFS Open last March, I'm going to guess that it's not good at the moment. I'm usually like around a 20, but I've just played so infrequently, doing these shows every single day. Not a whole lot of time to go out golfing. Maybe that can change this summer. Maybe I can go back and get myself a membership. But yeah, I'd say probably between like 20 and 25 at this point. How much wind cover does Spyglass provide? I already kind of did that one. Any Kyle Stanley love? Not really for me. I think the stats bear out that he's playing really well right now. It's just, Kyle Stanley has scorned me so much in the past. And again, he's one of those guys that seems in that range with Hubbard, who I like more, Lashley, who I like more, Gim, who I like more, that I'd rather just go to those guys. I'm not playing a ton from down in that range. I kind of want to consolidate my core from down there and see how it goes. Given the very weak field this week, does it make sense to skip all the top guys and play 6 guys between 7,500 and 9,000? I don't hate that. I'd probably go a bit higher than 9,000 because I do think there's pretty much a dramatic cutoff between like the Homa and up seems to be sort of a tier of its own. And then once you drop below that and you get into like the Matt Jones, who's fine, and Phil and all these guys, Neesmith, down at $8,000, that I don't think that those guys skill-wise compare to the guys that are $1,000 more. And like the guys above 10,000 are a clear step ahead. Like Berger is the only one above $10,000 that I'm using. And I'm not using a ton of him. I think I have him in 25% of my lineups. But I think that you can probably go a little bit lower than 75 if you have confidence in some of these guys from the lower end. I don't hate that idea. I think that balanced build approach is a good way to do it. But even if you wanted to build a team of like, Day, Kim, Molinari, Homa, and then 2 low 7s guys, I can get on board with that. I don't think that's a terrible idea with this. Brant, the bad weather play. There's a few guys that anecdotally play really well in the wind. So let me look this up on Fantasy National right now. I'm going to cut the sample to 24 rounds and see what's up here. So Snedeker, we just know from what he did at Torrey Pines that one time, and he gets so much cred for that. But I think a lot of people forget he was one of the first people on the course when the conditions weren't as bad. Now, they were still not good, mind you, and he had a fantastic round. But the conditions that the players, the leaders especially, faced later on in the day were like 40-mile-per-hour winds. Snedeker wasn't quite facing that. But if I switch on where's the windy? The windy AF filter, that's 17-mile-per-hour winds and above. I wish we had a cold filter. I don't know how we'd necessarily track that, but so 24 rounds. A lot of guys don't even have enough rounds to qualify here, so let's go on average. So you get someone like Sebastian Capellan and Bo Hogg and Nelson Ledesma and Ryan Gibson as your best players in windy conditions, but none of them have more than 7 rounds per average. So of guys with 10 or more rounds in the wind above 17 miles per hour over their past 24 rounds, we're looking at Spieth is actually the best with 2 total strokes gained. Now, half of those strokes are putting strokes. Tee to green, let's see, ball striking wise, he is actually only 0.5. So that's chipping and putting for Spieth in the wind has really come through. Cameron Davis is very high up on that list. Berger, Harry Higgs, Patrick Cantlay, Kevin Chappell, Ricky Fowler, Jason Day, Chase Seifert, Brant Snedeker, Rob Oppenheim. They have 24 and 14 rounds apiece. Ryan Moore is up there with 24. Paul Casey, Russell Knox, guys that you would kind of consider basically the Euros. Like Russell Knox, especially being a Scottish player, is someone who's conducted himself very well in the wind in the past. The worst guys in the wind, like you have Ogletree and Will Gordon down there, but it's 1 and 2 rounds. Xingzhu Zhang, the Chinese bad boy, not great in the wind in 11 rounds. Andrew Landry, Adam Long, these are all like towards the bottom end. James Han, he's down there as well. Sung Kang, T Dunks, Chris Baker. Oh no, my guy Chris Baker, the birdie maker. Oh, it's only 7 rounds though. Varner has not been great in the wind. Tringali has not been great in the wind. Who else of like notable is up there? Perez, Harrington. You'd think Harrington would be good. Austin Cook. But again, these are very small samples, and one good round can determine your fate, or one bad round can really sway what's going on when it comes down to that. So Scott Piercy is someone just in my mind. That's a pretty good wind player. I've just noticed that before. Aaron Wise was someone who was also good in the wind. You probably just want to correlate coastal courses together. So Mayakoba, Sony, Heritage, PGA National, courses where you do get a lot of wind gusts over time, and maybe try to factor those out too. That's why Fantasy National is great. You can go use the tool and search it any way you want. A lot of the lines jumped way up last night. How come? I don't know what we're talking about. I know there is no shot link on Spyglass, but there are SG stats on Fantasy National for that course. There's strokes gained total. We can measure that. We just can't measure anything else if you just search by Spyglass. Everything else will be just blacked out. You'll only get like the strokes gained off the tee, approach, around the green, and putting metrics for Pebble Beach. Blank Sight was late to the party. Blank Sight pulled DJ on Monday night, but Blank Sight had DJ up and managed to get some pretty decent numbers. Pays to have more than one book. Usually a good idea. On the Blank Sight that you're talking about, HDC, don't be shocked if they pull your bets if they win. Just straight up. Be very cognizant of that. When you use offshores, which that one book is that you're using, you have no real recourse to get your money back from. They can basically just take your money. The second site you use is a publicly traded company. It's just not huge into the North American market as of yet. It's probably the biggest book in the world. You're good with them. The other one, a bit wobbly on that one. Burger or Wilsey? I will go with Burger. It's split tees, so the early late shouldn't matter the first 2 days. Dylan is correct on that front. Let's see. Hey, Pat, can you please give me an update on the Tringali ownership on Blank Site? I don't even know what site you're talking about with that. Never heard of it. I probably wouldn't play there, to tell you the truth. Fading Cantlay Day in favor of Casey and Spieth. Thoughts? I mean, you can get away with it. Sure. I mean, I'm not using Casey or Spieth, so... guys that I don't use usually do pretty well, so that's a move. Harmon or Neesmith, double pass for me. I'd go Neesmith, but any Harry Higgs love, gained on approach the last 4, finished 18th here last year. Nah, I'm cutting down my core, so nah. Josh from the Challenge or Jordan Spieth? As Paul knows, Josh is on my fantasy team this year. Not that I'm a huge Josh guy, but I mean, the more we have Josh on the show and the more that he's crying, the more fantasy points I pull up, so we're good. Patrick Reed nickname. God, man, that's a terrible nickname. I'm not even going to say that. This is why I'm a professional. You leave the nicknames to me. Your guys, it's like when Seeley comes on and tries to give me nicknames. They're just bad. No one would ever say these things. Thoughts on Spieth this week? I like him. Good enough. I'm not using him. I'm not betting him. I think that he's overpriced and too short, but he's played so well here in the past that you can't overlook him and not think that he has a legitimate chance to win. But in a field like this, I'm really going to try to, I think in my 20 lineups, I've used 16 players. So you really need to be prudent when you're chopping down your list. Who am I going to use? Who am I not going to use? And go along with it. One name that popped up, and I haven't submitted the lineups yet, so I might rerun the generator on it. But for whatever reason, Charles Schwartzel I just keep coming back to his name all week, and I have no real evidence of why I keep doing it, but I might just go with the gut play. Go with Charles Schwartzel. Chris Baker, the birdie maker. Is he a must play or a really must play? Look, I just think that the odds at 600 to 1 and 6,200 are just a bit too low for him. He's probably more likely to miss the cut than make the cut at this point, so I wouldn't be pushing all in on Chris Baker, but I like his skill set. Over the past 24 rounds, he's one of the only players in this field who rates top 10 off the tee and through approach. Like, when you're digging in the $6,200 range in super long shots, like, that pops out and says to me, like, hey, this guy at least does have some upside in scoring potential. Can he make some putts? I don't know. Seems like he has the bad end of the draw. That's not good. But we've seen bad end of the draw turn into good end of the draws before, so it wouldn't be crazy to see Chris Baker go. Listen, if he wins, I'm rich, so let's go. Let's go, Chris Baker. Cantlay plus cheap 6K or Day plus Stallings. Day plus Stallings is going to be pretty chalky. I can see Cantlay plus the cheap 6K guy. If you can find the right 6K guy that you like, I'd say go for it. Higgs at 125. Yes, please. Sorry, Sean Howard. That's not a question. You know what non-questions get you, Paul?
Banned for life?
Banned for life. I didn't read the rules, so I'm not going to ban you, but I don't really care what you're up to.
Chat has been pretty good today.
The chat's been great. We've called out all the losers.
Yep.
And listen, we're flying through the chat. I'm pretty happy. This is great.
Last week was an all-time low.
Herman is starting off at Pebble. Yeah, that's great, man. There's half the field starting off at Pebble, so you can go research that on your own. What's your thoughts on Davis Riley? Considering he was all putting last week, probably going to take a pass on Davis Riley here. Sam Burns or Cam Davis? Cam Davis. Cam Davis is the one guy I'm considering adding to the betting card for me this week. The simulator absolutely adores him on Fantasy National. Aussies, by and large, are just very good win players as it is. He's excellent with his wedges. We've seen his upside. Burns has flashed before. Actually, in my Golf Digest article, the head-to-head that I gave out was Cam Davis over Sam Burns, just because I think that Sam Burns has too much downside. And, well, he can go like -9. He's also good for like a +7 every now and then, so we might just miss the cut. Then you have Cam Davis who's just skating towards the weekend. So I'm using a high percentage of Cam Davis in my DraftKings lineups. I still see him at 35-1. If I can find a 40, I might jump in and see how that goes with him. I don't know. I feel very uncomfortable betting Cam Davis at 30-1. I know this field, he probably warrants being a 30-1. There's just something about that name that kind of throws it off for me. Who do you prefer, John Daly or David Duvall? Get out of my chat. Taylor, Stallings, Stanley, Putnam. Pick two for the player pool. I'm Stallings and which Taylor? Is it Vaughn Taylor or Nick Taylor? Both former winners here. I'll go Stallings and Stanley. Thoughts on Molinari's drop-off since winning the Open? I mean, I've been over this a million times, but I love Molinari. I'm betting this week. I've bet him each of the first 2 weeks. He moved his family, didn't really play much in 2020. I mean, Augusta really rattled him when he lost to Tiger, but hey, he's shown back up. He has 2 top 10s to kick off the season. One of them was at a long course at Torrey. One of them was at a short course at Amex. This, on paper, sets up perfectly for him. Can he make enough putts? I mean, when he wins, he does, but the wedges are going to be good, so I like him a lot this week. Hahn or Kirk? Kirk. Brendan Gray's first tournament since he unfortunately lost his father due to COVID. Something tells me his rough stretch comes to an end as his mind won't be so focused on his family. Another guy who's really good in the wind as well, Brendan Grace. Just not sure where his game is at right now, where his head is at right now, and he's really shown nothing before that in terms of, popping off, in terms of good results to warrant it. But listen, Brendan Grace used to be a class player. Maybe he can get it back going. I'm not going to be using him, but he does come in at $7,200. I would probably go to either side of him in the DraftKings pricing, go up $100 and use Raya Moore or Mark Hubbard at the same price, or just use Lashley at $7,100. If you are watching out there right now, live on the chat, please smash the like button to the episode. That's how we keep this stuff free. The likes, the interaction, everything like that. Share the show around while you're out there too. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to tweet the show out right now, because I think I forgot to do that. So let's see what we're doing here. Let's see, live chat. Oh, see, I tweeted it 40 minutes ago that we're going to start. Pebble Beach live chat. Pebble Beach viewer. Thrilling stuff here. Viewer chat. Live now with a lot of caps and a lot of W's. And then I'll schedule one for 15 minutes from now, and we'll be good on the social media front. Excellent stuff. Back to the questions. If I start a lineup with Berger and Cantlay, should I bring it back with Malnati, Hahn, and Gim? Does that even work? I don't even know if that fits into the salary cap, to tell you the truth. I think those guys are just too expensive. If you can, yeah, sure.
Probably have to play the birdie maker, Chris Baker, in that lineup.
What's that?
I say you probably have to play the birdie maker, Chris Baker, in that lineup.
Yeah, that's a Chris Baker, Rob Oppenheim lineup.
Yeah, exactly.
Message redacted. Okay. Who is cussed in on the one and done? I want to ride his hot streak. I mean, you can watch the show or the beginning of the show or check out the cheat sheet or Monday's show to figure any of that stuff out. JB Holmes, terrible form. Good course history. Any love? Not for me. Davis Riley's best results on the Corn Ferry Tour seem to come from where the wind pop up. Not sure how to quantify. That's actually a good point. Harder courses and windier courses are where Davis Riley has played really well. I haven't seen anything from him on the PGA Tour besides some really hot putting and good chipping that the ball striking just worries me too much from him. Russell Knox outright 80-1. Good win player. Can putt. Can't really putt. Been playing well. Listen, you want to go for it? Go for it. I told you who my bets are, so if I haven't bet them, then I probably don't like the bet, right? Doesn't this week set up nicely for Ryan Moore? Seems like a good spot. I thought so as well, but I went back and looked at his history at this course, and he's not good. But you'd think fairways, wedges, maybe roll a hot putter, the Ryan Moore special. That would make a lot of sense. I just don't know why he hasn't been able to do it. I think the stats point to him as being a top 10 value this week based on his pricing, but I just can't get behind it. I'm letting course history cloud my judgment. You should never do that. What's your one bet for outright this week? I don't make one bet for outrights. You got terrible questions. Might have to ban this person. The worst questions in the biz. Is Charles playing? That I don't even know. I thought he was. He might have been one of the withdrawals. No, he is not playing. So don't use Charles Schwartzel when it comes down to it. I really thought this seems like a field that he should be in. To tell you the truth, he'd have a chance here if he catches a hot putter. Any emergent players you see might pop up onto the PGA scene. Also, any word on a golf card break with Jeff and Tim? I'd watch it just for the reactions. Business expense. Thumbs up. I don't even know if golf cards exist yet. I know that they were going to exist. I have no idea, though. And any word, I don't really understand your question about the pop-up on the PGA scene. Like Rob McIntyre, Bobby Mack coming over from Europe. I like him. Casey De Molinari HV3 for one and done. I think that fewer people will use Casey than you actually think. So Casey might be the better option considering he is. Casey is the highest ranked of these players. He has the lowest odds of these players. And he might be the lowest owned of all those players too. So interesting with Casey. Plus, the Brits might have an advantage if it's a bit colder out. How does Cam Davis stack up on POA? Sounds like you need a membership to fantasynational.com to go figure it out. Do you like Old Man Furyk this week? I don't. The stats love him, though. Rick talked me out of him on Tuesday's DraftKings show, but I don't hate it. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to go there. Cust or Hostler? Cust. Any love this week for the Shez? No. Any Mav McNeely love? Listen, if he puts the lights out like he is prone to do, he can definitely compete. But I don't really like banking on that, so pass for me. Berger or Day better in one and done? Just objectively, probably Berger. Is the Anderkirch losing some steam? Well, considering after we added Marty Schottenheimer to the list, after he was talking to us like at length about him a few days ago, then he wound up dead, the Anderkirch has killed 4 people in the last 6 months. So he was due for some positive stuff. So watch out if you're trying to tail the Anderkirch on this one. Thinking about tailing him with Casey. Go for it. What coffee are you drinking? And why isn't it the stuff Phil peddling? I'm drinking an Americano large with 3 shots of espresso from Starbucks because it wakes me up. Smash the like button. Kieran knows. Did you consider Michael Thompson this week? Nah, I never really consider Michael Thompson. One and done. Berger, Molinari? Probably Berger. A lot of people have used Berger in the one and done. That's why I think that people will shy away from him. Plus the missed cut last week. That it seems like a decent spot for him. Cantlay versus Day in one and done. Probably go Cantlay. I think that people might shy away from Cantlay because they're using him at different points throughout the year because he's a high-end player. But this tournament is no slouch in terms of the prize pool. So if you have a 7-1 and he's by far the overwhelming favorite in this tournament, then I can see using Cantlay here. I don't know if I'm personally going to use him, but I completely understand why you would in this spot. If you want to check out my one and done breakdown, that's up on Mayo Media Network right now. It's a quick 10 minutes, kind of go over the top of the field, the guys that you can consider, the ownership percentages that have been used so far in the giant one and done. That's also up on Daily Fantasy Sports, Picks and Bets, the Mix audio podcast. We're going to have some soccer later on in the week, some NASCAR, my golf one and done. That's where the Euro golf also pops up. So all of these sort of secondary sports that we don't do a full-time show for all pop up onto that feed. And if you rate and review on Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star review, your Twitter handle or email address along with something nice about that show. Subscribe to them and download them as well. That would be great too. But if you do that on Apple Podcasts, where I can track it, you're in a draw for $100. So, it takes like 15 seconds to do. You might as well do it if you want to win $100. Fantasy National is incredible. I'd subscribe again at twice the price. We hear this a lot. We like to keep everything down. Plus, if you use fantasynational.com/Mayo, you get yourself 20% off. We want to be a community of members at Fantasy National. So, we don't want to overcharge people for it. We don't want to make it so unaffordable people can't use it. I think very affordable. So let's go. Haven't heard much about Cam Davis this week. Then you have not been paying attention, sir. Paul, how many times do you think I've said the name Cam Davis today?
At least 3 or 4.
Yeah.
On this show.
Cam Davis is going to be very popular this week. Cantlay versus Day. I already just did that one. Do you have any interest in soccer? If you do you like Alphonso Davis? I don't give a fuck about soccer. I hate soccer.
I think he's Canadian. Maybe that's why he's asking that.
Oh, great. Yeah, fantastic. One thing I love more than anything is liking people generically based on the country they're from.
Don't we have Mayo Media Network soccer content coming
We do.
up?
Yeah, that's why I'm not doing it. I actually went out.
Yeah, exactly.
I went out and got actual soccer people who actually play DraftKings soccer at a very high level and bet soccer at a very high level. Might even see a few Brits pop up. You got to go to the Brits when it comes to like EPL betting. But there'll be bets for the EPL weekend slate coming out on either Thursday evening or Friday morning, plus a full breakdown of the DraftKings slate for EPL this weekend, both up on Mayo Media Network and the Mix podcast as well. And then next week, we're going to have Champions League come out. That might come out Sunday or Monday for the Tuesday Champions League. I'll listen to it and I'll tail the picks, but that's about if I can win money off soccer, I'll be fine. I don't ever want to have to watch that, though. Steele or Norlander? Norlander. How do you feel about your fellow Canadian mate, Roger Sloan? I like Roger Sloan, probably the best of the Canadians this week. I'll be using him as a $6,000 scrub in the lineup. $7,000 left. Play Sam Ryder, another 7K, or someone in the sixes. You could use Sloan, or you could find the extra $100 and use Nate Lashley. Who do I have from down here? Sloan, Seifert. Those would be probably the two guys that I would use that are the closest to that price point. Are you playing Phil this week? Don't think that I'm going to do it, but I haven't submitted my lineups yet. I can always change my mind on that. Werner or Ricky? I'd probably go with Ricky. Ricky's a real interesting one and done because, he's like just as likely to miss the cut as he is to make the cut. But I do think that he still has win equity, and no one's going to use him. Thoughts on Norin top hero? There's a guy who plays really well in bad conditions, Alex Norin. Top hero, 8-1. Who would he have to beat for that? Molinari. You'd have to beat Casey and Molinari from the top. Norlander from the top. That's not a horrible price tag, actually. I don't hate it. I'm not playing it, but I don't hate that at all. Shout out to the Dogger Pass podcast. There you go, Paul.
Thanks.
UFC Cash Cows. Cody was fire on the last card. I tailed him on like 4 decision props, and they were all like 3-1.
I was off on a hike, so I didn't actually tail his parlays, but we were on a lot of the same plays. I ended up paying a bunch of stuff live. It was a good week. Not a great week. It wasn't a bank breaker, but
it was nice
we're
to get
back on track.
Yeah,
We
nice to get
started
some
a
money
little
back
rough
after
on the
Connor.
island for sure. So now we're going to be coming in hot this week.
Stephanie, or I got to figure out how to pronounce this guy's name properly. Kamau Johnson. I'm playing neither of them. That just make that easy. Kazire, Rafa, or Werner. Any chance you play 3 high-price guys and 3 6K guys? I think you can swing that this week, just with so much variance in this field. Hope to get lucky at the bottom. Would you play any of these guys on DK? Thompson, Stallings, or Piercy? All 3 or just 2? Stallings is really the only one that has any of my interest here. Thoughts on David Hearn? Playing really well. Yeah, I'm gonna have a hard pass on David Hearn here. Another Canadian. All right, I'll do a final call for questions since that is the bottom of the chat. I think that's the bottom of the chat. Unless I'm missing questions. Paul, did you make any bets this week?
I have not, no. I should have before when I saw the DJ pull-out news.
You didn't even bet Chris Baker, the birdie maker?
Nah.
I think you can still get him at 400-1.
Nah, now I missed that 600, though.
Yeah, you'll feel bad about your 400-1 winner.
Yeah. I mean, he's probably not going to win, right?
No,
I hope he wins for all of your guys' sakes.
You can grab him with the top 8, though. It's 1/5. So what's that, 80-1 to come inside the top 8?
Yeah.
That's not horrible. Thoughts on Denny McCarthy this week? Pass. Knox, Malnati, or McNeely? Knox, Casey, or Day in the one and done? Casey. Any guys you like for Showdown? I think I would go Spyglass Day 2. That's how I would do Showdown this week. Just not a huge fan of the course splits this week. Over under 200 strokes for Cust if he played Pebble Beach this week. Over. Thoughts on Schwartzel? He's not playing. So there we go. I don't think he's playing. He's not playing, right? He wasn't like a late add into the field or anything like that. I looked at the DraftKings pricing and I didn't see him. But like I said, for some reason, the name Charles Schwartzel just kept sticking out in my mind.
I don't remember adding him to any of the graphics.
No,
week.
he is not playing this week. Only Charlie Hoffman is playing. Malnati or Han Malnati? Thoughts on Schwartzel? Again, not playing. How much do you make a year as a media mogul? I make around like $4.7 million a year. So, I just have to sit here and chat. They give me millions. That's how it works. Do you have any weird bets? Double 20s or double winners? I played a to make the cut parlay, and I think I played like group winners. That's always fun to do. What do you do with Sung You'll Know? Probably just not play him. You made an interesting point with Rick yesterday on who does poorly at Monterey. Did that change your mind at all? Not really. Do you think Ricky's terrible putting is more of a fluke or a real concern? This is what I actually wrote up on FTN Daily. He's lost strokes putting in 8 consecutive rounds. It's never happened in his career. He only had one other stretch of over 5 consecutive rounds where he's lost strokes putting in his career. That was the final round at Phoenix, double Honda Classic through WGC Mexico in 2008. So historically, he is a very good putter. Right now, he is an awful putter, and he's going through putter changes as well. But when it comes to putting, Ricky's not Luke List. He's not Ben Ann. He knows how to putt. So I give him the benefit of the doubt that he can figure this stuff out. Doesn't mean he's going to, but I do think you're going to see a Ricky Pop week on the greens here sometime soon. Top international player? I know international doesn't include Europeans, does it? So Molinari, since I bet him to win. Seifert and DK, I'm using my man Chase Seifert, $6,800. Homa or Norlander? Max Homa. Weather strategy over first 2 days. Yeah, I covered that in the weather part of the show at the beginning. You can go check that out. Duval to make the cut at plus 2,500. Sure, do what you got to do. I thought it was really valuable bringing up the good, bad Monterey players with Gaiman, good information to narrow down my player pool. Rick actually tweeted those out at Rick Run Good on Twitter about the best and worst players at Monterey Peninsula over the past few years, if you do want to go check that out. I thought it was really interesting. Site Blank allows a lineup of Cantley, Berger, Hahn, Malnati, Cam Davis, and Gim. Should I play there along with different lineups on DK? I think you should just play on DraftKings. That's my solution to that. See, woo! I think Siwoo's a bit sneaky this week, although it's been like a few really good weeks in a row for Siwoo, so I'm playing him as a part of my Pebble Day 1 stacks, so they get Spyglass. He wasn't a part of like my normal player pool, but to narrow down the like Pebble only Day 1 pool, Siwoo did make that list. So you like steal it all? Kind of pass. Pat, can you do a recap of the good, bad Monterey players? Sure, I can do that for you. This is where Fantasy National comes in handy. Let's see here. Where's Monterey Peninsula? Search by Monterey Peninsula. The easiest of the 3 courses, which we are not seeing this year, as I've pointed out numerous times, in case you're just tuning in. And I am just going to do the past 3 years worth of round, or past 4 years worth of round. So 2020, 2019, 2018, and 2017 to see who the best players on those courses are. And just because they're good at one course doesn't mean that they're bad at the other course. It just means they've been very good at these ones. So on average, we'll do that. So the maximum amount of rounds that you could have played is 4. So it's a really, really small sample. So it might just be negligible to begin with, but it is kind of fun to look at. The best player by far on Monterey is Kiradesh Appy Barnrat and there's no strokes gained. It's just strokes gained total from these. He gained 6 strokes on the field in his one round. Harry Higgs, Paul Casey, Phil Mickelson, Sam Ryder, Jason Day, Cam Percy, Ted Potter Jr., Scott Stallings, Henrik Norlander, Bryce Garnett, Bohog, Scott Piercy, Andrew Putnam, Nick Taylor, Shez Reavie. As a part of that group. Guys that are the worst that actually mean something. Roger Sloan was bad in his one round at Monterey. Denny McCarthy. Siwoo Kim. Siwoo Kim's an interesting one and done, I think. So if people have used him or they feel like they've missed the boat on him, there are other guys who are like good. Harold Varner was bad at Monterey. Charlie Hoffman, Duffner, Stewart, Lebiota, Cam Davis, Max Homa, James Hahn, Berger, Lashley. Yes, Paul.
Shouldn't you just use Siwoo at Pete Dye?
You should. He's played well here before, though.
Okay.
Like this is, I mean, the one thing with the Pete Dye is, yes, Pete Dye is set up in a certain way, but they're all shorter courses as well. Like the Wyndham isn't a Pete Dye course, and he's played well there. But usually he's kind of like him. Shorter Bermuda is generally where he pops. Let's see what Siwoo's best. Maybe I'm getting this wrong, but I feel like I had a top 5 on him a few years ago when he hit the top 5 when he was like super deep odds. Him and Stallings, the year that Phil won, I think was the year that it would have went out. I'll keep looking that up, though. If you have questions, keep dumping them in. Smash the like button. Well, you are out there as well as I continue for whatever reason. Siwoo Kim is not loading for me. Oh, there we go. All I had to do was shit talk it a little bit, and we were good. A lot of people on the site at the moment. Yeah, he was 4th in 2019. Sandwiched in between 2 miscuts. So, classic Siwoo performance. Either he's really bad or really good. So, which kind of makes him not necessarily an optimal one and done type play, but almost like Brooks last week where you had no idea. And I feel the same way about Ricky this week too, that you do have a lot of variance with these picks, but if you know that they have winning upside, I do prefer that more than taking like even someone like Harold Varner, who I do think plays well this week. I bet him to win at 110-1, mind you. But the win equity just isn't there for him. Although he did have his one like overseas win, his international win at the Aussie Open, which was super windy. So maybe he can navigate those a little bit. But if we're just talking about if it doesn't really make a difference, either you finish top 5 or whatever you finish is irrelevant, taking higher variance players in a one and done does make it appeals more to me to have one of those big ones. Siwoo can't lay a must play for an outright bet. At 6.5-1, I don't think so. You like Steele now? Can you please recap? I just did the recap. Let's see. Josh Teeter popped in your first look. Did he make the player pool? The Teats did not for me. I never play Josh Teeter. I leave him for Wiley. It's Wiley's guy. Are you worried about Day's course history being primarily due with his comfort in the Pro-Am? I mean, there's no way to actually tell if that's the truth or not, to be perfectly honest. Does that mean that everyone's course history at this course is fully tied up into playing with their Pro-Am partners? I don't know. I don't know how this affects anyone. I think that, as Rick and I talked about, it will affect some people. Who it affects? We have no idea. Maybe he playing a bit faster is now good for Jason Day because it's another year gone by. Or maybe it affects Kevin Streelman because he likes hanging out with Larry Fitzgerald. I don't know the answer to any of these questions. No one does. And even if people are saying it, it could be just because this is the part where I think that people take the words of the players a little bit too literally sometimes. Players will tell you if they're playing well, oh, it must be this, although that could have nothing to do with why they're playing well. In their minds, that's why they're playing well, and that's great. Maybe it makes them more comfortable. But just because a player says like, oh, I'm more comfortable in this setting because of X, Y, and Z, that could actually have nothing to do with why they're playing well. They could just be driving the ball really well that week. Or they could be making all their putts that week. Like, stuff like that is so anecdotal. You can't put it into, you can play that narrative if you want. I mean, listen, stats in golf are wildly unpredictable from time to time. They're not constant, but they're better than pure narrative and pure anecdote at the same time. They do give you something to build off of, say, hey, as an explanation to why this happens based on data, not some sort of anecdote to why someone plays well. It doesn't mean that one can't work for you if you go with it, but it's not necessarily for me. Over under 50 feet average miss on Spieth fairways this week. I can see it up there. Burns or Molinari? I like Molinari. What do you think Spieth's ownership ends up this week? Projections are all over the place. They are all over the place because in some spots I see him a bit low. I don't think that he'll be super popular on, like, let's say a fantasy national. Like, I think that like 14% to 15% amongst like the sharp community is probably where you're going to see Jordan Spieth. But because there is no football this week, if you do see more casual people who haven't played golf in a while jump in, that will push Spieth's ownership sky high. He is by far the most identifiable name in this tournament to a casual player, someone who had a lot of money in NFL, and now there is no NFL, so they're wasting it all on PGA. That will make Spieth, I think that will probably give him an extra 3 to 4 in the lower end. So the $15, the $5, the giant ones, I think you'll see Spieth higher owned than maybe like the $555 or the $200 single entries. That's just my perception. It could be the complete opposite of what happens, but that would be the logic I would use to try to project his ownership this week. Who do you want to win this week that hasn't won in a while or have no betting interest? That hasn't won in a while. I'd like to see, I have betting interest in it. I would like to see Varner win. I think Varner's well past due for a win. I don't have a bet on Cam Davis. I would like to see Cam Davis win. I would like to see Molinari win as well. I like Molinari. I hope he wins. Do you like Herman this week? Nah. Thoughts on Ryan Almail? Monterey is his worst course, and this tournament has decent numbers at Pebble. Yeah, listen, short irons, accuracy, maybe some putting. It's a Ryan Armour specialty. I can get behind that. Burns, Tringali, or Streelman? Let's go with Burns. Rafa Cabrera Bello is in good form, kind of, overseas, and not really. He has one top 20 finish in the last year, so I don't know how good a form he's actually. He made the cut in European events where guys got paid to show up and didn't matter if they played well or not. So I don't know. He would not be in my cash game lineup, put it that way. I can see using him in GPPs. I do not think that he is trustworthy enough. Pat, you have the best show. Thank you, Ethan. You're the best viewer. I appreciate that. Smash the like button, okay? Zalatoris, Molinari, or Casey in the one and done. Let's go, K. I'm more prone to playing Molinari. I do think that Casey's probably the more logical play, though. Anybody you were out on at the beginning of the week that you're in on now? Not really. Berger in DraftKings, maybe. Homa on DraftKings. Davis on DraftKings. I kind of like those guys. Hubbard, FRL, and Brooks last week. Thanks for the horses. Boom. For my question, what's your kid's favorite food? I'm trying to feed a 1-year-old and running out of ideas. My kids, I don't know where they get their size from, but they're fucking enormous. So my one son he just turned 2. So he's less than 25 months, older than 24 months. He's now up to 38 pounds. He's the youngest kid in his daycare, and he's by far the biggest. He eats anything. You just put stuff in front of him, he just goes, and then he just wants more. And then he freaks out if he doesn't get more. He does I give him Eggos in the morning. Seems to like Eggos a lot. The little one, the 9-month-old, he now weighs 26 pounds. He's just learning to stand up now, too, but he's just starting to get into more or less solid foods. So we're just using purees for him, still mixing in cereal type, the harder cereal type stuff to get him more accustomed to the harder foods. I don't know what they feed them at school, but it sounds like it's pretty good. They seem to like it a lot. But just quick snacks, berries, like blueberries, strawberries, all that type of stuff the older one really enjoys eating. Probably a meaningless stat, but Davis Rowley has experience playing Pebble Beach in the 2018 U.S. Amateur, made the quarterfinals. Is this enough to be considered course history? At least he's played the course before, but I bet you those USGA conditions are nothing like what the course is going to be like this week. And if there's going to be a ton of wind, if there wasn't a ton of wind this week, the course is going to play completely differently. John Daly, KJ Choi, or Rod Pampling? Objectively, KJ Choi is probably the better play of all those guys, but neither of them are good plays. Thoughts on Tom Lewis? Pass. Happy birthday, Pat. Thanks for the show. It's not my birthday, but thank you anyway. Appreciate it. Just got on my lunch break, so sorry if you answered something like this. Yeah, Parker, we'll get to you anyway. What do you think about fading the 10K and jamming in 3 9Ks? I like it a lot. Let's go. Let's go. I've noticed, and I'm going on with Matt Jones in a month or so, once I just kind of get freed up from everything on his podcast. And he's the Bogey Free podcast. I think that's the name of it. Go follow Matt Jones on Twitter. But he is very good at looking at the historical data of some of these tournaments. What I would like to ask him, because I actually don't know the answer, I only have my anecdotes about it, but some of these weaker field tournaments, the favorites don't normally win, to tell you the truth. Now, when they do win, that sticks out in your mind. It's like, oh, Cantlay went to Pebble Beach and dominated everyone. Well, that happens more infrequently than frequently. That fading some of the top end guys, basically fading the entire 10K range. When I won big at Heritage that year, there was 4 guys above 10K. I think it was Leishman, Casey, DJ, someone else. And 3 of the 4 ended up missing the cut. And I didn't use anyone above 10K. I used Xander, Bryson, I think Bill Haas was in the 9K range that year. And I just used 3 9K guys and worked my way backwards from that. And at these weaker events, maybe there's not as much incentive. Maybe at the shorter courses, there's more variance, especially with the wind this week, that you get rid of a lot of ownership that way because some of those guys actually missed the cut. And you can just luck out into the 9K range and play some safer options at the bottom if you want to go that route. So I do like that method. I don't know whether that's been effective in weaker fields or not. So I'll ask Matt about that to see if he has any research to back that up. But I'd be very curious to know. That is a strategy I like to employ at weaker field events. Unrelated to the live chat, we are in the last days All of us are sinners. Oh, good. Some God guy is in here. Have fun with that. Live your life in fear. That's always fun. That's how I like to live my life. Terrified of everything. Would you consider McIlroy the best bottler out of the world's top 10? I don't know what that... Do you know what that means, Paul? Do you know what a bottler is?
How do you spell that?
Bottler.
A bottler?
Yeah.
Somebody who bottles things?
Why would Rory be that? Why would he be the best of the world's top 10 in putting things into a bottle? I have no idea what that...
I'm thinking we're dealing with a spell...
it's either spell check or
he's
someone
supposed
from
to be
Britain and I don't
golfer.
understand the slang.
It's supposed to be golfer, but this guy works in like a bottling company. So
Yeah.
he's usually talking about bottlers.
If you can re-ask your question, Connor,
fix
I
it
don't
that way, I
understand
don't
what you're trying to say. Casey or Molinari in the one and done? Let's go. I like them both. Like I said, I'm more prone to use Molinari. Casey probably the better game theory. Oh, this guy is just giving me Bible quotes now. Fantastic stuff. Love that. Didn't hear about Homa until the very end of the show with Game. Am I missing something or just crappy number keeping you away? I'm playing Homa on DraftKings. I'm just not betting him. More likely, Tim getting a hole-in-one at Pebble or jumping from space. Probably the hole-in-one because that's complete blind luck. Did you see Cuss endorsement of taco salad ice cream cones? No. Can we get a Cuss? Can we get an episode of Cuss Cooking Channel? Well, Paul and I have been planning out a special new series with Cuss live in person. That maybe some cooking elements. Cuss Cooks might be a part of that. Can you let me know the Cameron Tringali ownership for DraftKings this week? Let's see here. What are we seeing for Cameron Tringali? Around 15% for Cameron Tringali. He is not a sleeper by any means, but why do people keep asking me it's happy birthday? What?
So a bottler means choking / blowing it, apparently.
Is he okay? So is he the biggest choke artist of the guys inside the top 10? No, I'd say Xander is.
Yeah, British slang, I guess.
Okay, so that makes probably something British that I just didn't understand. No, I don't think so. I mean, Rory has 4 majors and like 40 wins, so I wouldn't really consider him a choker. Xander, who has 4 career wins, probably a bit closer to that.
He's no Tony Finau.
No, he's no. Tony's not a top 10 player though.
Top 10 Tony.
For your single entries this week, are you going balanced or stars and scrubs? I'll end up going balanced like I do every week and losing when I should have entered my stars and scrubs lineup that would have won me money. That's just how that goes. Tune in Sunday as you can. I might film it Saturday this week. I don't know. Depending on the day, you can see how badly my $200 lineup did. Happy birthday, Pat. Not my birthday, but thank you. Pat, you strike me more as a hashtag girl dad. I don't know what the fuck that means, but I'm not. I have 2 boys. Okay, I'm going to ban this guy who keeps posting Bible quotes. This guy can fuck off. This is weird. Weird activity. Hey, Pat, I'm rostering Chris Baker and Matt Jones at 100% this week. I ate some Chipotle for lunch. I think my butt could explode at any moment. Good luck this week. Good luck to you, Alex. I'm using both those guys, not at 100%. So I hope that they hit for you because they'll hit for me too. Thoughts on Norin? I'm kind of out. Thoughts on Furyk? Went over that. I'm kind of out. Hi, I am new. Hi, welcome to the show. For a potential parlay with Meany's hockey props, just play Meany's hockey props. They win all the time. Honest to God, tune in to the Fantasy Hockey Picks and Bet Show. Moody has been fucking fire in terms of like DraftKings plays and Meany's bets. He gives them out at like the beginning of the show. So tune into that. Subscribe to the hockey show too. Help us support it. Even if you don't care about hockey, but if you just want the bets, just click to the bets portion. Meany hit like a 3-person, 5-person, like 7-person, like shots over. Is the shots over under market in hockey like the softest market in hockey, Paul? What's going on?
Seems that way.
He's just crushing it. It's incredible right now. So tune into Monday. So tune into Meany as he's just destroying it on the hockey show. Is Day or Molinari the safest for a top 5 finish? Probably Day since he finishes top 5 every year. But just why? Why do you need to add that to it? Is this the week to take Berger and 2 guys in the 8K range? You can take Berger and a 9K guy and an 8K guy. I just don't like the 8Ks, unless you're at the very top of 8K, like if you went with like Homa or Streelman, something like that. Haven't heard anything on Adam Long. Thoughts? Basically, since round 1 of the Amex, he's been trash, so out of it. Luke Donald or Kelly Craft is a cheap punt. Pass. Well, come on, we're going with Chris Baker. Come on. This guy asked me about my birthday once again. I mean, I appreciate the good words, but you be Ben for life because you're clogging up the chat now. Fowler or Harmon or Siwoo and Knox? Siwoo and Knox. Cam Davis or Siwoo as an outright? I think the answer is always Siwoo. My friend Carl stopped playing Call of Duty because of your advice. Did I mention to stop playing Call of Duty? I don't even recall saying that. Anyway, all right. Oh, maybe that was the cameo that I recorded for someone. Either way, if you're a grown man, just play Call of Duty. That's fine. It's just my friend. I have one friend who's really into Call of Duty. He still lives at home. He's in his mid-30s, and he yells at 12-year-olds over his headset. Like, get a fucking life, man. So I just don't want you to fall into that trap. If you can do it without it becoming like a problem for your life, like you're not doing real-life stuff and you're just playing Call of Duty, then that's probably a problem. It's no different than any other addiction. Do it in moderation. We're good to go. My wife wants to know if Cust is single. Should I be worried? Yes, you should be worried. Thoughts on Shez Ravy to win? Pass. Hadley or Duffner? Probably Hadley. Sam Burns shows up really highly in 125. Any interest in Burns? Not especially. Since I'm now jamming all 3 9s, Zalatoris or Molinari, I like Molinari. Harrington just WD'd. I don't know which Harrington. Scott or Patty? I wasn't using either, so I'm not really worried. Any love for Luke Donald? Nope. Wait, it's not your birthday. No, it is not my birthday. No more questions. We are at the end of the chat because I see nothing else. FantasyNational.com/Mayo to get all your info. Cheat sheet and review are up on DKNation.com. Pivot plays up at FTNDaily.com. And I gave out some bets and head-to-heads and everything like that in Golf Digest this week. So go hit that up. I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.